What's up, guys? Dave Van Auken back once again. We're going all in with iKON 5, March 5th, 2021, right around the corner. We're rolling. We're going to have on right now one of our absolute favorites. We've been talking to her for literally years now. So excited. So much is going on with her. Let's bring in Kayla Hracho. K-Rock, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing good, doing good. Haven't seen you in a while.
I know. It's been a while, man. I missed you.
I love it. I love it. So much. There's so much I want to start and unpack first. And like I said, it kind of coming in. It's funny. I think about it. I don't know when we first started talking, but I remember hearing of you and talking about you and then with you years ago, literally before I think your second fight, or maybe it was your debut in MMA. Dude, now you're 3-2 on a winning streak under UFC Fight Pass. Literally, the career's rolling. How has it been? It's just been a crazy little whirlwind over the last couple of years.
It has been a ride, man. Sometimes I look back and think about everything that's happened in the past 4 years, and I just can't believe it. But it's been such an awesome journey, and I can't wait to just keep going forward.
There you go. Another really cool thing I want to hit on is you sent me some of the coolest pictures, videos ever. San Carlos, Mexico, kind of some behind the scenes stuff. It's just one of those iconic things. I can't wait to, you're in the co-main event of UFC 290 and they show you, punching with this beautiful background of San Carlos. How good were those trips? How cool was it? Just the scenery and being there, not even about the fights itself, just about the trip being in San Carlos, Mexico.
Yeah, San Carlos was amazing. Such a perfect spot for a fight. Like traveling to a cool place like that, it's like sometimes it doesn't even feel like a business trip. It almost feels like a vacation. But still focused on business and handling business. But what a beautiful place that was. I felt like it was a resort. I remember fight day. I was able to eat a good meal and walk on the beach and relax and breathe. It was just such a beautiful place. I would love to go back there.
Maybe soon, maybe late summer. I don't know. Maybe a birdie told me, but we'll see. But maybe by then you might be in the UFC by then. 2 wins in a row, iKON 3, iKON 4, November, December, before kind of getting into iKON 5, and we will in a second. Did you love the back-to-back? Would you want to do that more, kind of get a couple fights in a row? Did you needed that break, the December, Christmas, January break? Do you feel good now or wish you have had one more in a row like that? How do you feel about a couple fights in a row?
I do really like to stay busy. If I could fight every 2 weeks, I would do it. When I fought in Mexico the first time, I really wanted a fast turnaround, and I'll never forget. I was actually at work. I was walking home from a serving shift, and I hit up Dean Toole. It was a week before the next Mexico show, and I was like, "What's up, Dean? You didn't find me an opponent?" And I was kind of just joking around. Literally 10 minutes later, he texted me and said, "I got you a fight." And I was like, "Okay." So a few days later, I flew back out to Mexico, and I was right back at it. So super grateful for iKON and Dean. That guy works. He hustles. He's really been taking care of me. So I'm really happy to be fighting for iKON and to be working with him.
So true. This probably more than the most, right? In the business, the industry, the game, sometimes it's who you know and just the relationships you build and stuff like that. Not a lot of people can make that text or call to a great matchmaker, like you said, a week before the fight. And to get you that fight, we talked about it so much off air behind the curtain. It is so hard to match you up and get you a fight. Now it's easier, I feel like, because you're in a higher spot. You're in a bigger spot. 2 wins in a row. Emilee King is no pushover. She is a tough girl. I actually talked to her earlier today. She's amped for the opportunity. She feels this is her opportunity to get into the UFC of that nature. But then kind of go back to the whole relationships and being able to make that text. How vital, how important is that for you moving forward in 2021 and beyond?
Yeah, it's huge. It's funny because I feel like I've been talking to Dean for years. I was really interested in fighting for Island Fights, but we never really moved forward with it. I feel like they had trouble finding me opponents. So being able to get with iKON and finally get fights and be able to work with Dean has been awesome. And I'm just excited to stay busy with him until I reach UFC. That's a plan.
Right. One last thing before we go into iKON 5 is when I saw you both especially for iKON 4, the last one, and I kind of thought about it. You looked so comfortable. Like, I just saw it in your face and your eyes, and I think I've seen all your pro fights since for your debut. You look so comfortable, so at ease. One, I don't know if it was just the familiarity of, I just fought on iKON, or maybe you just are in a different place mentally and physically. Also, I want to throw out another thing. You're, to me, how I know you from the boxing days, in a ring. And I feel like now for iKON, you're fighting back in a ring. I think there's something to do with it. Just throwing something out the branches. That's where the good fruit is at. How do you feel about fighting in a ring? And am I onto something that you just looked super comfortable in your last fight?
I heard that a lot, and I heard the commentators saying that a lot, that I looked like I was sparring. And that's the goal. I don't think a fight should be any different than sparring, besides maybe, throwing with a little bit more power and a little bit more aggression. But I feel comfortable, man. Once I get in the flow of things, it's like home. Right.
I agree. All right. Emilee King, iKON 5 coming right around the corner. Like I said, March 5th, 2021, UFC Fight Pass. Really featured spot. Co-main event or the featured spot. It's right up there. Really big fight for both of your careers. You can argue literally winner can literally move on to a main event spot for iKON, or even a short notice fight in the UFC. Tell me about Emilee. Have you seen of her? Did you know of her before this fight? Have you watched the tape? Kind of all that gossip.
So I haven't watched too much of her. I did watch her. I think it was her last 2 fights in Bellator. I saw her fight Eva Knight. I saw her fight Carrie Melendez. And you're right. She's a tough girl, as, most girls at this level are. They're all tough. I think that she's pretty scrappy. She likes to come forward, be aggressive. I think that she looks to force the takedown a little bit. I think she's probably a little bit more comfortable on the ground. But that's no worry for me. I'm at this point, I'm not new anymore. I'm not just a boxer anymore. And I think in my last few fights, I've showed that. So wherever the fight goes, I'll be comfortable and I'll be ready for it.
Absolutely. Looks like it could be one of those things. I think both of you are really good at grappling and defense, that it could make, usually sometimes when good grapplers go against each other, it becomes a kickboxing match because neither one can take it down. So I'm so intrigued. I can't wait to be there. Biloxi, Mississippi, March 5th, like I said. Okay, let me talk about ATT. I love the momentum. Seemed like early last year of 2020, or even kind of the end of 2019, the momentum was great. Then it seemed like it fizzled sometime in the gym. People left, coaches left, trainers left, couple L's. And then all of a sudden, maybe started with Mike Beast Boy Davis with Fight of the Month in January, Dustin Poirier with the upset of the year. Amanda's about to fight at UFC 259. Seems like the momentum is back. Do you feel that in the gym? And just tell me an inside look of ATT.
For sure, I feel that. ATT just has such an incredible energy. We have champions coming in and out all the time. When we watch some of our biggest guys and girls fight and they bring home the win, I feel like we all feed off that energy. So It's just so incredible to be in an environment with such talent, like you mentioned, Mike fought recently, Fight of the Month. We actually just watched it the other day. It was incredible. I told him, man, I think I could fight like you. So, I'm just looking, every single person in the gym I have the opportunity to learn from. As you may have noticed, like Peter Yan has been in the gym for this camp.
Right.
Man, he trains like a dog. Like, I watch this guy and I try to pick up on his habits, and I even ask him, certain tips about training. Like, what are you doing for training tonight? Maybe that's what I should do. So, I'm constantly trying to pick the brains of these high level athletes and try to get my training to be like theirs. Right.
So like I said earlier, I've been talking with you for years. I've been talking with Mike Beast Boy Davis for years, and I have so much respect for fighters. It's the most one-on-one sport in the world. People can talk about golf, but there's so much else stuff going on, and there's 50 people in a thing. In a fight, it's literally 1 versus 1 in a locked cage, or for iKON, a ring, and the winner wins. Like, that's it. That's all it is. But am I off base with saying that there's so much more other than just the one-on-one? You just talked about like little stuff from Peter Yan and your coaches, and maybe being able to talk with Dean Toole or with first round management. There's so much more that goes into a fighter. There's like 10% here, 5%, 5%. And I ought to say it's so helpful to have a great team, to have this support system around you and kind of help build you into the fighter that you are today. Is that off saying that?
Oh, no, absolutely not. I think that might be one of the most important things.
Okay.
I've been in this sport for about 4 years now, and there's waves. Like it's not all up, as you know, and as you've seen throughout my career. But, one thing that remains is that I know how important it is to have a strong support system around me, to have the right people around me so I can focus and be at my best.
Very true. We cannot wait being at your best. We're talking about it March 5th, iKON 5. Man, if you win this one, I think the new nickname, like the K-Rock's a good name. Good, that's a good nickname. But how about the iKON? Winning 3 in a row for iKON. I think that could be a little T-shirt. Just throwing it out there. You know what I mean?
I wouldn't be opposed to that. I kind of like that.
We might have to coin that one before the show.
Yeah.
Talking about an iconic fighter, Amanda Nunes. She's about to go UFC 259 against Megan Anderson. We've seen you all the time train with them. It seems like Amanda's like taking you under the wing a little bit and building into the champion that you will be one day. How cool is it to train with Amanda, see Amanda, and what do you think about her upcoming fight?
Man, it's like I said, it's incredible being around this talent. Amanda and Nina both have been a huge support system for me. Constantly keeping me focused on the right things and just leading me down the right path. It's awesome to be able to witness them training. Nina is actually a partner of mine. I get to work with her a lot. She's fighting, I believe, in April against Mackenzie Dern. Amanda has this huge fight. Amanda's got this huge fight coming up. I have no doubt that I'm not going to say walk through, but I have no doubt that she is going to win by domination. These girls are a huge part of my world down here in MMA, and I'm just fortunate.
Absolutely. Last thing I want to bring up outside the iKON circle is Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship. Same thing. I see you at ATT. Jamie Driver's down there, and Paige Van Zandt just main evented the show, and Thiago Alves is a big part of Bare Knuckle. Saw you take a picture with David Feldman late last year. For me, like I said, knowing you at the very beginning of this, this beautiful boxer, this awesome jab, great hook, like you're just bona fide badass stud in the boxing round. Can you see a run of Bare Knuckle FC in the future? What's your thoughts of Bare Knuckle? What did you think of Paige Van Zandt? What's your take on the whole circle of Bare Knuckle FC?
Man, I have so many thoughts on this.
Run with it.
So at the time that I considered Bare Knuckle, I was 1-2. I wasn't in a very good spot in my MMA career. And, Bare Knuckle just kind of popped on the scene, and, it's just growing. Like Dave Feldman says, it's the fastest growing sport in the world. And when I watched Thiago Alves fight for the first time, I was like, wow, that looks like a lot of fun. Yeah. First time I watched Thiago, I was like, I might have to do that. So I did reach out to Dave Feldman, and it's funny. I actually know Dave from my hometown. We're like from, I think he's from outside of Philly, but yeah, we're about an hour away from each other. I met Dave Feldman for the first time probably 6 or 7 years ago. So when I found out he was in Miami, I had to meet up with him and just, see what they were offering. I do think that maybe I do have a future in Bare Knuckle. I'm not sure. But right now, my focus is, especially on March 5th, my focus is on changing my life this year. My goal is to get 1, 2, 3 wins in a row and get that spot in the UFC. So, that's my main goal right now. That's my main focus. If Bare Knuckle comes around, in the future, then I might have to step in there and throw some bare hands, but we'll see.
Wow. That sounds good. That sounds interesting. We can't wait March 5th. All right, so we'll kind of hit it right now. There's a little mask behind you with a thing that someone got from Fight Island and a hat. Mike Beast Boy Davis's stuff. It sounds like he might be in Biloxi, Mississippi in the corner. Is that rumor out there true?
That rumor is true. He'll be in my corner. Yep.
Very cool. Very cool. We can't wait. Mike and Dean go way back. Dean and Mike really paired up years and years ago for Island fights. And now he's one of the hottest names in UFC. fought Gilbert Burns on a less than a week notice, and we saw how great Gilbert was, even in the defeat to Usman. His future is endless. Big fans of Mike Beast Boy Davis. Same with you, Kayla. Like I said, we've been talking for a minute. Your future's limitless. Can't wait to see you back in the ring. iKON 5. Any last words from you? Any kind of sponsor plugs or anything of that nature?
Just shout out to Hydro Cocoa. It is a new sponsor of mine. It is the best coconut water I have ever tried in my life. That is no joke. I'm not kidding. It is so tasty.
I want to get on that. Yeah, I've been seeing that from you, and it's like, here's the best sponsor plug you can get. I want to buy the product because I seen it from Kayla supporting it. So, like, there you go. There's a plug for that.
Yes, that's right. It is so good, man. You won't regret it. But no, I mean, just shout out to everyone who supports me. You know, I can't do this alone. It's a tough sport, a tough world. I've had a lot of support over the years, and even from you, man. I don't know if I could do it without you guys. So I really do appreciate all the love and support. I appreciate people who, you know, rode with me through the bumps, and I'm just looking forward to, like I said, changing my life this year. I thought last year was my year, but I'm determined to make it this year. So
very true. I'm so happy you said that. Like, there's nothing more satisfying than sticking with people kind of when they're in the roller coaster in life. Sometimes there's downs, and there's nothing more positive and cool. People have done that with me. I've had downs and rough months and stuff. And when people stick with me, it's awesome. It's a great feeling. And I've been a huge supporter of you since the day one. I don't know. I just saw something special in you from the very beginning, and can't wait. Can't wait to see you in Biloxi in a couple weeks. And it's going to be a great fight. You and Emilee should be a great matchup, and the best woman will win, and we'll take it from there.
I appreciate it so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Kay. We'll talk soon.
All right. Have a good one.
All right, guys, we are recording. What's up, Dave Van Auken? We're getting ready. We are pumped for iKON 5 live on UFC Fight Pass. One of the featured bouts on the card. Miss Emilee King, how are you?
I am fantastic. How are you doing?
Doing good. I'm getting excited. Live MMA and being there. I was just at a live event a couple weeks ago. It's so good, and can't wait. We're going to be out there in Biloxi, Mississippi. UFC Fight Pass, iKON 5. First of all, let's kind of get into that. How did you get the call? Were you eyeing UFC Fight Pass or iKON? How did this all come to be?
Well, my coach, Eric Turner, he is the one who sets up all of my matches. So he was like, hey, do you want to go fight in Biloxi, Mississippi? And I was like, yes, let's go do it. I mean, it's awesome that it's on UFC Fight Pass. I think this will be my second time. I made my pro debut under the Invicta banner, which was also under on UFC Fight Pass. So it's kind of nice to have the familiarity with some of those like big stage jitters kind of things. So it's nice to kind of get more reps at that. But I'm super excited for this matchup. I think it's going to be a very competitive one. So really looking forward to March 5th. And the fact that it's with iKON, which is kind of a newer promotion. I think this is their 5th one. I mean, it's really kind of cool to be on the frontier of a really up-and-coming big promotion like this. So I'm excited for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. You said it great right there. It's definitely iKON started late last year, had a really good end of the year. They already have like 3-4 borderline guys and one girl, but about to be in the UFC. One, it just hasn't got announced yet. So they're definitely turning content, and they're turning people like, you know, probably main goal is to maybe fight in the UFC in the near future. Let's talk about your opponent, K-Rock. I've talked to her a couple of times. She's had 2 wins in a row on iKON Fighting Federation, I believe, November and December. She likes to stay active. Have you seen of her? Did you know her before getting the fight booked? What's your takes on K-Rock?
Well, like I said, I think she's definitely a game opponent. She actually fought one of my former teammates as an amateur. Now, I was not at that fight, so my coach is a little bit more familiar with her than I was. So she fought Carmen Milagros as an amateur, which is Carmen no longer trains with us, but she was out of our camp, and obviously I was Carmen's one of her main training partners for that fight camp and stuff. So, but that was years ago, really. So just kind of watching film with Eric and those kind of things, I feel prepared for this. I think, like I said, I think she's very well-rounded, as am I. So that's why I'm expecting this to be a very exciting fight. So hopefully she's thinking the same thing, because I'm prepping hard, and I hope she is too. So.
Absolutely. I'm happy you said that, because it's kind of intriguing. to see like one of your old teammates fought K-Rock years ago and watching tape, I've always wondered, even you as a fighter, like if you say, oh, Emilee King in 2017 or 2018, I would assume, right, that you're a different fighter. You have things that you totally, leveled up. You have things that you're like, you maybe want to stay away from or go into. Do you guys wonder, be like, hey, do you think K-Rock's going to switch up the game, or it's like all you can do is kind of worry about yourself and try to level your game up the best you can?
Well, one of the things that Knoxville Martial Arts Academy, we really focus on is our mental skills training, and pretty much all of the sports psychology books, they are all kind of on the same page in terms of you have to focus on yourself. And another big refrain in the gym is we never lose. I might run out of time to solve a problem, but I never lose, and I always learn. So I always go back and watch my film, like even if I win, it doesn't matter if it was a win, if it was like my best performance to date, it doesn't matter. I'm going to go back in the gym and be like, okay, what can I fix? What can I do better? Because that is the name of the game in MMA. If you become stagnant, you will be outworked, So you have to constantly be at the top of your game. And once you're at the top of your game, you must change it. And that's kind of the mentality that we at Knoxville Martial Arts live by. As soon as something works, great, we'll keep it. As soon as it doesn't work, all right, we're going to change it and make it better. So it's that constant growth, that constant process mindset, process over outcome. So that's kind of always where we're building, leveling up. And so this fight camp is no different. I went back and looked at the film from my last fight in November with Kerry Melendez on the Bellator stage. I was like, okay, what can I do better? There's obviously mistakes that I made, so let's fix them and try not to make them again.
Right. Actually, you brought that up. I'm happy you did. I kind of had in some of my notes. What happened with Bellator? Did you guys have just a fight by fight, contract, or how did that, lose that situation there at Bellator MMA?
So yeah, it was about agreement. I was never locked into a multi-fight contract or anything. I don't think that Bellator at the moment has a strawweight division. Now, if they did, I would love to see that happen. Obviously, I think strawweight is a strong and deep division in the UFC or really anywhere. There's lots of women in this division, and we're competitive, man. It's deep. You have various skill levels. You have anywhere from boxing backgrounds to grappling backgrounds, so it's a good division. So that was kind of the issue there. There's not a ranked division in Bellator or anything like that. And so I was never locked into a multi-fight deal or anything. It's just I fought Ava Knight in January, and then I fought Kerry in November. And that was really the only two strawweights that they had for me, or at least that's what the information that was relayed to me anyways. I don't know exactly why, but obviously I lost that last fight, and a lot of times, you have to kill it to keep it kind of thing. So I lost that fight. So I wasn't really expecting a call back, but which is great because I get to fight for iKON,
There you
and
go.
I believe this card has 2 other strawweights. So again, I think strawweight's very prevalent. How many is there?
No, 5 female fights on the card. It's crazy. It's like, if I can look back on it, it's the most female fights on a UFC Fight Pass card ever, except for, of course, Invicta, which had a full fight card. It's crazy. And there's some great female fights. We expect 2 or 3 of probably the girls to move on, probably be in the UFC by the spring or the summer. So let's kind of hit on that. How cool is it to be on a really hot card and a really, dominant female card in a way for iKON 5?
I was actually telling my husband, Jason, so I am super excited about, all the females on the card, but specifically with the division that I love to compete in, my home base, strawweight. I've taken catchweight fights here and there, but that's where I really like to be. But the fact that there's other ones, so it doesn't matter, who's in my locker room versus who's not in my locker room. There's going to be other females there my size, which I think is just going to raise my intensity. It's going to raise my energy. It's going to raise my gameness. All right, even though I'm not fighting them, just being around people that one day you could face, or maybe you already have. Already fought Shawna Ormsby. I know that she's going to be there, and she was a totally game opponent. It was a good fight, so I think that's going to bring my energy up and will hopefully allow me to play to the best of my ability. So I'm excited. I'm pumped.
Very cool. We're so excited. We cannot wait. That's March 5th. It's around the corner. Valentine's Day is over. January is over. It's coming. Talking about straw weights, of course, we know Whaley. Whaley, to me, is one of the best, if not best, female fighter alive today. We know about Rose. We know about a couple others. Name me a couple other straw weights in the UFC or maybe on the cusp of the UFC that maybe needs a little bit more limelight. Maybe in a year or two, you're like, hey, she's going to be a top 5, top 3 straw weight maybe in the UFC.
Well, hopefully my name will get thrown in that hat.
There you go.
I think I have to work my way up there for sure. But I'm not afraid of the hard work. I'm not afraid of the tough fights, and I'll fight anybody as long as coach gives me the okay. I'm like, all right, let's go, let's do it. So that would be my goal within the next year or so to get to the UFC. Like I said, when I made my pro debut, it was against Kay Hansen, who is in the UFC, and she's a very game opponent. And while she's kind of on the outer edges right now, I would definitely, if looking at a name to in the near future to get moving up, I think Kay is one who has the mentality to like constantly improve and stuff like that. So I always like to cheer for people after I fight them, whether win, lose, or whatever. Like, I'm going to be corner rooting for you. But I think Kay is definitely a well-rounded fighter, and she comes from a good camp and everything like that. But I mean, there's a ton. Like I said, the division's deep, so that's just one that I know because I fought her. But yeah.
Okay. It's so funny you said that too. We're jiving. I'm liking this. You're literally just hitting my note by note by note. I loved your lineup. I love your schedule. I love fighters who take legitimate good fights. You just mentioned 2 really, really good girls that you fought before. We know that there's a lot of ducking and dodging and diving in the game. It seems like you've had a great lineup, and with a good 4-fight win streak under, your record. Do you kind of look back on it now and be like, yeah, I kind of fought some tough ass girls, and now going into 2021 in the future, I feel good. Like, I'm ready to roll. I'm ready to take that next jump into the UFC and fight anyone that they throw my way.
Yeah, like I said, with Eric's blessing, I'm game. I would look back at my record. Now, I did just lose to Carrie Melendez, but I look at it and I'm like, I made mistakes. I made silly mistakes that I should have known better, but I got a little overexcited, and it cost me. And I see that. I know that. But I'll learn from it. At the same time, though, I'm not taking away from Carrie, because Carrie's good. She's a world champion kickboxer, Kudos to her. I faced a game opponent. Before that, it was Ava Knight. She's a world champion boxer, and I beat her, So
Right.
It was with a different game. It was with grappling, but that's the beauty of MMA. I didn't have to box her, But totally game opponent. Really, really tough. Before that, I think was Shawna. Again, tough game opponent. We went the distance, went all 3 rounds. So I look back at it, and my losses, I'm not ashamed of them. Like, they've made me better, and I hope that my performances will continue to show that I'm not done, that I'm here, I'm ready to learn and move forward. So yeah, I'm proud of what I've been and I want, but I'm not done yet.
Right. Big goals happening for 2021 for Emilee King. Definitely give you a follow, em.king_MMA. So I was checking you out on the Instagram. It's a great follow. And I saw probably a little bit ago you had the earphones on and the mic on, and you were kind of commentating. Is that something you would love to get into in the future? Commentate and broadcast? It was fun. I just commentated on Island Fight 66 a couple weeks ago, and I never thought I would want to go that route. But I got the itch now. I'm like, this is pretty cool. Like, you have to know so much about the fighters and the history. It's like you're almost watching so much tape, and it's like you feel like a coach in a way, or like a scout. It's fun time. So that's something you want to do in the future.
So that was my first and only time that I have commentated. Would I be willing to do it? Yes. Is it challenging? Hell yes.
It is.
I am not a visual learner. So for me to watch something in the moment without having someone there to break it down with me, and for my insight to be what we're doing, I'm very a kinesthetic learner, which is why I like competing in this sport. I like to feel it, and then that's when I know what's going on. So to be visual and then to spout out immediately out of my mouth what I think just happened, that was very challenging. But that same night, I was also working as a cut man, a cut woman, / I was doing some of the medicals and stuff, because I am an RN by trade. So if I had to choose between the two, I definitely would choose more of the medical side of things. But I do like to challenge myself and grow in different areas. So if they thought that I didn't do a terrible job and that my commentary was worth listening to and that people were engaged in it, then yes, I would do it again. But MMA, I think it has such a future in it. It's kind of like nursing in the terms of like, if you don't like one area of nursing, you just go to another area.
Right.
MMA is kind of the same way. Like once I think I graduate from fighting, which hopefully, Lord willing, will be years from now, and I've been successful and made my mark on the sport. I would like to do more things like that because I think I would want to give back to it in some way, whether that's, my husband also referees. And so if it's a referee, if it's being an athletic commissioner, if it's doing something like that to continue the sport, continue the legacy, and just really give back to all the people, it'd be like repaying all the people who've done those things for me, because there's so much that goes into putting on an MMA show that like it just makes me so very thankful and grateful. There's a lot of time and effort and blood and sweat and tears that for two people just to get in the ring and fight each other that a lot of people don't even think about.
Right. It's so funny. I've always said, so like the UFC does all the embedded shows and they followed Gilbert Burns and Kamaru Usman and they follow them. I think they should do that with the promoter, cameraman, like you said, cut mans, announcers, follow them for the week. There's so much going on. Like I said, we did it a couple weeks ago and like people are dropping out, people about weight cuts. This person has bad blood. This has just happened. These people are really respectful. There's so much going on behind the scenes. It's wild. Like I said, we're going to ask you.
You could make a reality TV show out of it, honestly. Like
it really could. Like it really could. And put it on Fox, and we're ready to go. So we have 5 fun questions coming your way. But the last thing, like I said, I saw on your Instagram profile, it said dog mom, said fly fishing. Do you think it's vital to have other interests outside the sport of MMA? Because like you said, it can become so consuming. You feel like you don't, run or train or do something. It feels like you're lacking in a day. Is it good once in a while to turn it off and be like, hey, I'm just gonna go fly fishing for the day with my husband and just have a good time? Do you think that's important to have a balanced life?
I think it is important because at the end of the day, being a professional athlete does have a shelf life to it. So if I'm not constantly trying to better myself in other areas, be it a wife, a daughter, a nurse, whatever, then that same stagnation trap you'll fall into in those areas too. Before I was married to my very wonderful husband now, I was in a previous marriage, and that was kind of the name of that game. I committed so much of my time into MMA and stuff that I didn't invest in that relationship. And not to say that it was all my fault or all his fault. It was like very mutual or whatever. But that is a consequence. That's the reality of the situation. Like MMA for me, everyone has an expiration date on their career. We don't know when that's going to be. And like I said, Lord willing, mine will be years from now after I've had time to do the things that I want to do in this. But that's not the end all be all. I'm not just a fighter. I'm not just a nurse. I'm not just a wife. I am a well integrated person. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I think to me, it is important. And for multiple reasons, going back to the whole sports psychology, things like that, in order to enter a flow state competing, you have to have flow states elsewhere because that whole mindset shifts into it. It all plays a role.
Love it. Love it. Here we go. Like I said, we got 5 fun questions. First thing that comes to your head, and we'll take it from there. Okay.
Okay.
Here we go. First thing is, who would play you in a movie about you?
Oh, why would you ask me this? I don't watch movies. Keira Knightley. Some people say I look like her. I don't know if that's true or not. But.
Ooh, that's a good one. I like that. And she's very active, and I like that. If you could live anywhere in the world, where would you live?
East Tennessee. I love it. I love it here.
There we go. Your favorite superhero?
Again, I don't watch movies. I'm so bad at this. My husband's gonna kill me. I don't
know. Who's his favorite superhero?
He likes Batman.
There you go. Okay. As just like the whole good wife thing. I like Batman too, Who is the most interesting person you have ever talked to?
My husband. Yeah.
There we go. Last question for you. Should be maybe the most important. On March 5th at iKON 5, what's the fight prediction versus you and K-Rock?
Me. Let's go.
You by decision, you want a stoppage, doesn't matter, see what happens?
See what happens, but we all know I like to hunt the submission, so that's where I should be.
Right. There we go. Emilee, so happy talking to you today. We cannot wait. Like I said, we're days away. iKON 5, March 5th, 21st, Biloxi, Mississippi. I'll be out there. We'll see you soon. And have a good rest of the camp. Travel safe, be safe. We'll talk soon, all right?
Thank you so much for having me. Have a good week.
What's up, guys? Dave Van Auken. We are rolling through iKON 5. Talk to a couple. We're going to talk to one more fighter on the card. We're so pumped. Someone I've been trying to talk to for a minute. We reached out a couple years ago, same Central Florida MMA scene, and I'm so happy that we're going to go on to be like a next level. So bringing her in right now, Shawna Lee, Bam Bam Ormsby. Here we go. Hey, Shawna, how are you?
Hey, doing great, David. How are you doing?
Doing good, doing good. Do you remember that? Do you remember 20 months ago, 3 years ago, somewhere in there, you had some kind of Central Florida, I think it was a boxing match, if I remember right, and we almost connected on the podcast, but just, time was busy, you were busy, I was busy, and just didn't work. Do you remember that?
Yeah, no, I do remember. I've been watching your show for a long time now, and I've always watched Island Fights here locally, and I know you guys connect a lot, so it's definitely an honor and privilege and finally to be here and to talk to you.
Oh, I appreciate you. We're a big fan as you as well for a long time. There's a couple things I want to get into first, but more important than fighting, right? The Buffalo Bills, I felt like you and I connected more than ever. So like your fight was coming about and I knew it. I was like, wow, that's awesome. So happy for Shawna because I know you've been around and in the game for so long, and iKON's been a hot brand for UFC Fight Pass. So then I started following you on all platforms, and then everything I see is Buffalo Bills, and we had this magical year, and that's to the heart. It's like you can feed a man or like their sports teams, and you like the Bills. So I'm a huge Bam Bam fan now. So you're from Buffalo. You're originated from Buffalo, right?
Yeah, so I was actually born in Buffalo. I lived there until I was about, I think, 7 or 8 years old. So I grew up, and I've got pictures of me as a little baby in my little Buffalo Bills and our striped pants and everything like that. So, all my family, whether I lived in Buffalo and then Niagara Falls area a little bit. So it was so cool to live there because back then you could go to Canada and you could go see the Niagara Falls. You didn't need a passport. You didn't need all that stuff. And then you grew up in a town where we appreciated our sports so much. So besides, the Bills, I'm a huge Buffalo Sabres fan. I think that's why I ended up liking fighting too, because in the hockey and the sports over there, we're so aggressive. The hockey games, that was one of my favorite things, was to see our players get into the fights because we have one of the most aggressive teams. So I think just as a Buffalo baby, I just love our sports. I love that my family, we were able to grow up from there. And my dad, always pushed me to be a tough little girl. I basically was his, son growing up. So he pushed me to be strong and tough. And, again, our sports are like that too. So I'm definitely a proud Buffalo fan.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And tough you are. And we'll get into that in a second. My best Buffalo Bills story is my wife is from Virginia Beach. She lived in Virginia Beach for like 10 years. And Bruce Smith is from Virginia Beach. He's a big Virginia Beach guy. And we were out at brunch, what you do in Virginia Beach on a Sunday. And we're watching football. And right behind me, and I've been a Bills fan since I was 6 years old. They're red, white, and blue. My favorite player was Thurman Thomas. And like that was my team, the Jim Kelly, Bruce Smith, Thomas days. And my wife hits me on the shoulder and she goes, babe, I know you like football. Do you know who's Bruce Smith is? And I'm like, yes, I know who Bruce Smith is. Like, he's like my favorite icon. Well, good word there. I was so pumped. And she's like, well, he's right behind him. And it's just, that's not my cup of tea, is especially famous people. They're out at brunch. They want to watch football. They're just like you and I. And that's the more and more I get into the media part of this. The biggest fighters in the world, they just want to chill and eat lunch too. We're normal people. They are, most of them. So, and I was not going to break into it, but my wife's like, no, you're so giddy. Let me try to talk to him. He was the coolest dude in the world. My wife went right to him, said, hey, Bruce, can you take a picture with my husband? Blah, blah, blah. And the rest is history. So I got a great picture. So when I see you in Biloxi, I'll show you the Bruce Smith picture. He's humongous. He's like 6'6", 280 of still pure muscle. He's a huge dude.
But probably just a gentle giant, like you said, like the nicest people in the world. You would never expect it.
He was the coolest guy. And he kind of asked me because the Bills Bills are known for having like great fans like you and I, and we're so into it. And he's like, he was just like so genuine to be like, oh, when did you start liking them? I'm like, your time, you know what I mean? And he's like, oh, thank you so much for the support. He was the coolest dude ever. So, all right, enough about Buffalo. We went 4 minutes in. So how did you get down to Orlando? Because I know of you from being a Central Florida, just I hate to use this word, and I hope you take it in a compliment because it really is to you, like an MMA pioneer. Like you've been around so much, and you know everyone, every promoter and gym and girl fight. Like they're like, dude, Shawna's awesome. Like she's been around the game for a minute. When did you migrate here to Central Florida area?
Yeah, so when I was around, I believe 8 or 9 years old, my family moved from New York and we came over here to Florida. We followed my grandparents, and I actually lived in the Mims Titusville area near the Space Center. So basically, I started training and fighting when I turned 21. So I'm hitting 8 years now of training.
Right.
I went through a point of I went through a breakup and I needed something new for myself, something to give me some confidence because I grew up super shy. And I really was just tired of it. I was out of high school. So I had a friend who did MMA, and he kind of just showed me some of the ropes. And at the same time, when The Ultimate Fighter came on with Ronda Rousey and Miesha Tate, and it seems like, that's just a story for everybody. But I feel like that show came on at the right time because honestly, I did not grow up being a UFC fan or a fighter fan. I was like, why are people punching each other in the face on purpose? I didn't understand. But when I saw the girls training and the dedication, because I appreciate tough, I appreciate training, the dedication and stuff. So when I saw what they were getting put through, that's what kind of inspired me, because I did grow up doing a little bit of Taekwondo, not too much, but a little bit. So I was always an athletic person. But once I saw that show, I was like, okay, this is for me. I got to try this out. So I found a jiu-jitsu gym over in the Titusville area, and I started with them. But I wanted more. I wanted to, try the kickboxing, try a little bit of everything. And I stumbled upon, actually first it was a UFC gym in Winter Springs.
Right.
Yeah. So that's where I originally started. And that's where I have my coach that I have now. I'm, still with them, dedicated and loyal, 8 years now. We've been through everything from ups and downs, and he's, showed me everything. And it took a while for me to understand what it's like and all the pressures, but those guys were so nice there that I just kept coming back. As tough as the training was, me being I'm small for even just an atom weight. I'm a small person, but I didn't let that stop me. So I just kept showing up. And when I showed my coach now, how strong I was and the power of my right hand, that's when he was like, okay, we might have something with this. You're small. I don't know if I can find you fights, but we're going to try our best. And I just kept training from there. And now I own my own school here in the Longwood area. But that's what drove me on this side, because I would drive 45 minutes, every day just to come out to training. Because back then, years ago, there was nothing in Titusville area, Melbourne area. Now there's a lot more gyms. So it's cool to see with the growth of the sport itself, people are seeing what this is and what it can do. But yeah, I've been dedicated and loyal for a long time now. I'm driving very far. So that's why I'm in this area now.
Very cool. And that's another thing. You're hitting all these dots I wanted to get to. Like I know I remember you're boxing. You had a boxing debut just not that long ago professionally, and like I know you're great at jiu-jitsu, and I know you've done a couple events lately too in the Orlando area, and it's just like feels like you've done so much in the combat sports arena. And now I'm like so pumped. And when I talked to Dean Toole, when he told me about this matchup before it was even out there to the world, I was like, wow, I'm so pumped. I've known Shawna from afar for so long, and it seems like you've put in the work in so many different avenues. And now, like I said, on UFC Fight Pass, this huge light is going to be on this event. It's got 5 female fights on the card, the most female fights in any UFC card in the history, except for Invicta FC, which is no longer on UFC Fight Pass. So it's just like it's this really, really big event. I'm so pumped. I'm so happy for you. When did you know, or is it 100% MMA now, or would you dibble back into boxing or a jiu-jitsu tournament, or are you all in with MMA for the foreseeable future?
Yeah, so I'm definitely all in with everything. I don't want to say just focus on one, but I'm so comfortable with keeping myself busy. I did so many kickboxing matches. Obviously for MMA, we have Tapology, we have SureDog to keep our records and how many fights, but we don't have that for kickboxing. I've had, I think, over 20 something kickboxing matches, and not a lot of videos of the matches I had, because that just really wasn't that big of a thing back even just 8 years ago. So I'm so comfortable in the ring, which is why I really like iKON, because it's not just the cage. Now I get to do what I do with my MMA, but I'm so comfortable with the ring too. And then, like you said, I had my boxing debut. I actually did 0 amateur boxing matches.
Right.
Because of the coach that I have. He's so well-rounded. We're on the same page. Everything I learned has been from him, besides the other schools that I'll go to, and we'll train together with them. But I just feel so comfortable in all avenues. And I think as an MMA fighter, it's important to touch base on all those little things, because I think that makes you a better, well-rounded MMA fighter. So my next goal is definitely to have my pro kickboxing or my pro Muay Thai fight as well. And I definitely want to.
That's awesome. That is so cool. And it's so funny. I just got off I just ended with Kayla Raka, who from the boxing days, and she just won 2 iKON events in a row, the iKON 3 and 4. And we talked about it. She feels so comfortable in the ring. She really likes it. There's just something that she started in the ring, and it just feels home to her. She just has a little bit more comfortability. So that's funny. You kind of said the same thing. All right, let's talk about it. iKON 5, couple weeks away. It's around the corner, March 5th. Fighting Macy Bro. So I've known Macy Bro for a minute as well too. She was the main event of Island Fights December 2019, and same thing. She's been wanting to fight. I love her. She always wants to stay busy, and if it's boxing, kickboxing, MMA, and it's hard for her to get her matches, and so many fights have fallen through, and it's just one of those things. When you guys were matched, I was like, this is perfect, because I feel both of you are badass. I think both of you will definitely be there on March 5th. You guys are here to compete. I think you guys are both super respectful. Macy Bro is a great person. And I was like, dude, this is a really, really good fight. And this is her debut in the MMA. So this is her first one. Like I said, I think you've been around a little bit more. Do you think your veteranship is a bigger deal? Or, for iKON, you guys are both 0-0 in a way. Like, do you think it's just going to be, a great fight? And have you seen anything of Macy Bro since the match has been announced?
So I'm not a big person on studying too much my opponent.
Okay.
I do kind of like to stay. The way I think is every fight should be a title fight, is a championship fight. I should expect this person to be a black belt in jiu-jitsu and a world champion in boxing, and they should be well-rounded. So I like to think I'm training for that person always, no matter what their background is. So I did watch her last fight. I know she fought Taylor White at I think Island Fights. So right. I watched a little bit of that. I've had, I always have people come up to me and saying, oh, I watched this and she's like this. And I know that I've heard she's a brawler. I love that stuff. Honestly, I've fought some girls that don't like to trade hands, and I love trading hands. I like that feeling of aggressiveness coming back and forth, because I'm also a person where this is a business and I like to put on a show. I don't like to put on a boring fight. I think that's why people, whether I've won or I've lost, people appreciate that from me, because I'm there to put everything out in the line. I'm not afraid to try something. I'm not afraid to get in there and grind and hit hard and do what I got to do, practice my jiu-jitsu, whatever I got to do. I'm not afraid to do that. So I like the fact that she is, as I've heard, an aggressive person. And I think that's going to make for an exciting fight, especially as females. I think we still have a lot to prove and a lot that we can showcase to show that we're out here to bang too, not just for the guys.
Right. And that's a great point. That's so funny. Like I said, in a way, with 5 female fights, usually most cards, there might be 1 or 2 at the most. With 5, in a way, you want to stand out. Maybe it's a close win, or maybe it's a minute win, or whatever the case may be is. But if you guys put on the fight of the night, win or lose, and of course, I know you're going to want to win, and that's first and foremost. But if you do the fight of the night, of course, Dean Toole's going to want you back. The UFC Fight Pass is going to want you back, and you'll be back for iKON, no doubt about it. But you kind of want, like you said, to make a statement and kind of shine maybe over the other female fights. To me, might have a little bit of big things for you more down the road. So talking about that down the road, and we have a couple more questions, and I got one funny more thing to kind of mention to you about is, what is kind of your game plan for 2021? It seems like we're on hopefully the back end of this global pandemic. It was hard to fight, and some, a lot of regional promotions were down last year. What's kind of your game plan for the rest of 2021? Do you want to get into one of these big promotions that are, a UFC or a Bellator, or you just kind of want to, like you said, you want to do the Muay Thai match? You maybe want to do another boxing match, or maybe more UFC Fight Pass. What's the goal in 2021 for you?
So my goal is definitely to compete as much as possible. So
Okay.
since I turned pro, I've had 4 pro fights now. It was 2 in 1 year and then 2 in the other, and we were trying to stay more active, but things just either fell through. Matches didn't work out, and then COVID hit, and it kind of set me back. Last year, I had a MMA fight, my strawweight debut, and then I think it was maybe 3 weeks later I made my boxing debut. So I was thinking I'm going, this is awesome, and then COVID hit. So I really am trying to stay as active as possible with whatever it is. I would love to stay with iKON. I think it's a beautiful show and organization. I'm excited to experience that. And if everything, God willing, goes well on March 5th, I'd like to get on the next card as soon as possible. And I feel like right now is my prime. I feel the strongest that I've felt. I've, worked on my health a whole lot. Finding little things that my body needed that I didn't realize I needed. And I feel so strong. So I want to keep my body healthy as long as possible and compete as much as possible, stay busy, active. When I was in my amateur career, I would have, 10 or so fights a year. I was so used to staying so active. So whether it's a jiu-jitsu match or a boxing match in between, and then if iKON becomes my, my MMA show, that would be awesome. So I definitely want to build up. Now that I have my own school here, Carlson Gracie Longwood, I kind of want to show my kids that I train here and the adults too, what we're about as a team. So I find that, if I'm in the ring and I'm doing what I do and I can put on a show for them, they feel like they're there with me. So I just want to kind of give them that excitement too.
Awesome. We cannot wait. We cannot wait to have you, Shawna. Biloxi, Mississippi, March 5th, right around the corner. iKON 5 live on UFC Fight Pass. It's going to be such a great show, such a great week. There's actually Roy Jones Jr. boxing the night before. So maybe after weigh-ins, if you want to sneak over and watch some really high-end boxing, same arena, same venue. It's going to be such a great week. I can't wait to get out there. Okay, so right before we go, we have 5 cool, fun questions, going bananas. Before we get into that, you're a great follow on Instagram at Shawna Bam on IG. I always see you with the squirrel.
Yeah.
So I would love for 2 minutes, name, how did it come to be? I have 4 kids at the house, so we don't have any pets. The kids take enough of our time and cleaning. How does the squirrel live in the same house with you? Tell me about this.
Yeah, so the kids actually named him Carlson. So he actually has his own Instagram too. It's at Carlson Jiu-Jitsu Squirrel.
Okay.
So basically, right before COVID hit, it was around March 15th, I think, when they started shutting down all the businesses and the gyms. My mom was actually at bingo, and she had seen the tiniest little, squirrel. It was him. He was maybe 2 weeks old at the bottom of a tree. Super dehydrated. You can kind of see his bones. She kind of watched for a while and to see if the mom would take him. And, usually they say about 3-4 hours. If the mom doesn't come back, she's either, left or possibly, for me, I think he was sick. I think she kicked him out of the nest. My mom, knowing me as an animal lover, I grew up, working at a parrot rescue. I would have to give them shots, all kinds of stuff. Always had animals growing up. So she called me immediately and I was like, oh, I don't know if I really have time to take care of a baby squirrel, and I've never done it before, but I couldn't say no. So I went, picked him up. I figured out how to take care of him. I had to syringe feed him. I had to give him Pedialytes to see if he would feel better. From my understanding, it's very hard, especially at that young of an age, to keep them alive. So I did the heating pad. And he was starting to get healthier. I kept him in a little bird cage, and I was actually the first thing he saw when he opened up his eyes. His eyes were still closed. So now all he knows is human. My kids, I ran a summer camp I was here 11 hours a day, and he actually stayed in the gym with me because I had to feed him every 3-4 hours. And he adores the kids now. He is like a dog, like a cat, like a puppy, he's just totally different. He loves all of our members. He runs around you. He kisses you, hugs you. Never tries to bite. It really is like the coolest thing, animal that I could have ever. I never knew I would love a squirrel so much, but he's he's our little dude now. You'll have to check his Instagram. It's just the things he does is just so funny.
We'll do. After this, send me the link when we get off, and then we're getting all the interviews for iKON 5. We're going to put it all together, and we'll put his link on there as well. So it's like, follow Jason Knight, follow K-Rock, and also Carlton the squirrel. It's so cool. So Macy is from Biloxi, and she might have a little bit of the hometown crowd a little bit. But if it's 50-50 and someone doesn't know who to root for, how can you not root for the squirrel saver of Shawna? So that's a great story. That's so cool. It's just like, I always see, like, he's on your shoulder, and I always see him in the gym with you. So I was so intrigued. I'm like, squirrels are at the house. They run away from us. They don't jump on my shoulder. But okay, here we go. So we got 5 fun questions. The first thing that comes to your head. All right.
All right.
Here we go. Going bananas with Bam Bam. First one, describe yourself as a teenager in 3 words.
I was shy. I was, athletic and small.
Okay, there you go. 3 good ones. What's your favorite piece of technology?
To be quite honest, I actually can't really stand technology too much. I'm a very old school, old soul person. I'd rather go back to the day with no technology.
Okay. Hey. Dinner with 2 guests, dead or alive?
I have to say, wow, that's a tough one. I am a big fan of Tom Hardy. I love the fact that he does jujitsu. I think that'd be pretty cool.
Right.
And then, we got to go old school. We got to go with Muhammad Ali. That's the man right there.
I ask this a lot, and he comes up more than, especially in the combat sports world. He comes up a lot. So that's a good one. What's one of your favorite locker room stories?
Lockers.
It could be at a fight, or even could be at the gym, something funny with one of your kids do, or your teammates or your coach, or something of that nature.
Well, if we can go with a locker room, during a fight when I actually fought in Georgia, and the locker room actually ended up being in like a cow pasture. We I kid you not, it was outside. It was about 39 degrees, so it was freezing. It was in an airplane hangar, so totally outside, mulch everywhere. And that is just one of the things where we actually had to warm up with like 2 heat lamps. So I got to say it was crazy, but it's a story for me to say. So that's probably one of the coolest things that we've done.
Absolutely. No, that's a good one. I know iKON will take care of you. It's in a beautiful air-conditioned arena. You're going to love it in Biloxi, Mississippi. Last question, a part of Going Bananas. Fight prediction on March 5th, you versus Macy, bro.
My prediction is definitely going to be that I'm going to do what I got to do, whether it's standing up or on the ground, but I am feeling super strong. I'm not sure if she's felt a punch as strong as mine here, so I'm excited to show what I got to do over there.
Wow, that's awesome. We cannot wait. Last thing for you, Shawna, we really do appreciate you, appreciate your time. Thank you so much for giving it to us. A couple weeks away. Hopefully training camp is going good and weight's all good of that nature. Last question for you. So Daniel Martinez, he's the #1 sponsor for iKON, and he's a great lawyer, Central Florida area as well. Maybe you ran into him through the years. And his slogan's kind of like in your corner. So I want to know who's someone, could be a coach, could be a family member, a teammate, who's someone, if you're having a bad day, MMA is tough. It's a hard, mostly individual sport. Who's that person that's just in your corner? Who has your back that you can know that you can give that phone call at 9:30 at night when shit's hitting the fan? Who's that guy or girl that's in your corner?
Yeah, I definitely have to say it is my coach. That's my best friend right there. We've been through a lot through the last 8 years, and through the ups and downs and the tears and the wins, the excitement. He's also the main coach here at my school. So that's my partner right there. So anytime that I'm feeling down or I'm rough, or if he knows that I'm having a hard training and I'm crying, he knows exactly how to communicate with me the way that I need to be, whether I need a moment to step back, or if he knows that I need to be pushed harder.
Right.
So I always know if I need something, that's who I go to.
There you go. And we had a big plug for our #1 sponsor. So that doesn't hurt at all. But Shawna, we can't wait. Like I said, a huge fan of you. Been watching you for so long from afar, and can't wait to meet you in Biloxi, Mississippi, a couple weeks away. And like I said, just be safe, have fun, and we'll see you in Biloxi in a couple weeks.
That sounds great. Thank you so much again.
Awesome. All right, guys, here we go back at it again, this time with Alexandra Ballou, iKON 5 Federation, right around the corner. We're talking March 5th, live on UFC Fight Pass. Alexandra, how are you doing?
Doing good. Just got back from training, feeling good. I know it's like 2.5 weeks out, so the excitement's starting to build now.
It really is crazy. And one thing I love about you, so before I talk about what happened, literally off air, we were just about to talk 10, 20 minutes ago, and you literally answered while driving. You're just so committed. Like everything I see on your social media platforms, great follow on Instagram, Alexandra, the great MMA. You're so committed to the game. Where do you get that? Where do you get that instinct? Where do you get that drive? Just a huge fan from you from afar.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I had done jiu-jitsu before I started fighting, and I always just thought fighting was the coolest thing. And then when I decided to commit to it fully, it's just now that I got to do what I loved, and I had like a taste for that, and just like getting your hand raised, there's really just no feeling like it. And so,
right,
no matter what setbacks occur, like for me, there's been quite a few things of that nature. I just, that's really my drive. Like I'm not done yet. I'm not finished. I'm not too old. I'm not too injured. I'm not where I want to be yet. So for me, it's just, that's what drives me every day.
Okay. Okay. Talking about that, I had this note written down. You haven't punched someone in a cage since 2018. It's like 2021.
I know.
It's crazy. Like I have kids, so I know how long 3 years is, like from a kid's point. How excited are you, and where do you think your emotions are going to be on that night, March 5th, Friday, live on UFC Fight Pass, just walking into a combative, fight?
Yeah, so for me, I think it feels surreal because, I've had a couple fights that fell through in the meantime due to like COVID and other stuff. So, I was on the verge of fighting at one point and it fell apart. So for me, like the fact that it really feels solidified. It feels like now that we're getting closer to fight week, for me, it's kind of almost familiar. I was saying this to my coach the other day, like even in the past when I was fighting quite regularly, it's always like fight week that starts to feel like, oh my God, here we are. This is it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So now that we're getting closer to fight week, I'm like, oh my God, this is the first time in like over 2 years that this is actually going to happen. Like,
Right.
So it's crazy. And then, I'm sure like when that day comes, it's going to be a closed chapter for me, like overcoming the surgery, the knee injury, rebuilding, improving, and then finally getting to do all that and like, get to the point where I can finally fight after all of that for the first time. It's going to be emotional for me. I already know.
For sure. We can't wait. We can't wait to watch you fight live. We're going to be there in Biloxi, Mississippi. Talking like another thing, it's like a weird angle to take this. I want to take it is like for the Super Bowl, the Chiefs and the Bucks knew they're playing on that Sunday. Like that's the game. If someone is hurt, the rest of the team plays. Like it's a game. And like basketball, there's a schedule. In fighting and mixed martial arts, there's no schedule. So you really don't know when you're going to get matched next or when the next fight's coming. And like you said, we talked right before. I think it was your LFA, and it was like the week of, I felt like we talked on like on a Monday, and then I was going to drop the podcast on a Tuesday or Wednesday. And that's when we found out like the opponent dropped out or whatever happened. And it's like, talk us through those emotions of just being a fighter and not knowing when your schedule is. And even when you have a scheduled fight, shit happens, and especially in this pandemic era of mixed martial arts. Just talk us through that side of it.
Yeah, I think in terms of fighting, like as a sport, it's very physically demanding, but I feel like it's also very mentally demanding, not just because of the discipline and, the learning and applying, but also, yeah, exactly, like the schedule. As far as it goes, like people ask me what my least favorite part of the sport is, and I think the uncertainty is one of the things I love and hate about it the most at the same time. Like, putting in all that work, starting to cut weight. Like even for my first fight ever, my amateur fight, I was mid-weight cut like a few days out, and the girl, pulled out on me. But I thankfully got a replacement. So yeah, it's just it's really hard to not ever know what will come. And the point is you always have to be ready, which it's a good mindset to have. And once you're in that zone, it's very helpful. You know what I mean? Like I like being there. It can be a little bit emotional to get ripped out of that, when things fall apart. And then I think no one's really quite prepared for COVID. That's one of those things where it's just, you could be as ready as you want to be. and just, the rest of the world isn't sometimes. So that was quite a challenge, as I'm sure for a lot of fighters and just everyone in general.
Right.
So I feel very fortunate to be able to do this in March.
There we go. Let's talk about it. March 5th, iKON 5 live on UFC Fight Pass. Really great fight. You versus Griffin Fisk. I actually know a lot of Griffin Fisk. She fights a lot in the Florida area. I've seen her like in Orlando, Jacksonville, also in the Panhandle in Pensacola. I just literally commentated for Island Fights a couple weeks ago, and she's fought for that banner. So I know of her really well. This is a really, really good fight, but it's her debut as a pro. You can take us through that. I think it's a lot different with someone who's been through it before. Someone like yourself, you've had a pro fight. Do you lean on that? Do you think that's a huge advantage for you? Have you seen Griffin Fisk's tape? Have you heard of her before you got matched up? I know there's a lot there, but take it away.
No worries. I actually had never heard of her.
Okay.
Which is fine. And then I have seen some of her tape, and it's hard to speak for someone else or what they might be feeling. I remember being ready to go pro, and then also recognizing that this is it. This is the stage like that I wanted to be at. This is where the next chapter is about to take me, and it's just like it's permanent. Your record's now permanent. So I felt that was a little bit of added pressure for me, though. Also, I fought in Connecticut in front of all my family and friends, which was another element of pressure. So it's I don't really know how she might be feeling. But at the same time, it's the fight's the fight. And once you're in there, it's no different than anything else. So I'm not really sure. For me, it's just more or less, I've been out for a long time, so I'm just itching.
Right. Right. Like, they're so intriguing to me. Is it like, there's so many, and especially, a big fight. Just think of Conor Dustin, right? And there's so many different things, and there's rematches and lightweight champion and so much stuff. But at the end of the day, like the door cages and they fight. Like their skills, their techniques, and what they practice. Maybe Dustin had this calf kick all along. Like at the end of the day, does a lot of this, out of this outside banter and media storylines and stuff of that nature, at the end of the day, is it none of that shit matters? Like you and Griffin are going to get into a ring, and the best woman will win. Do you feel that, or does sometimes storylines manifest themselves into something?
I think they can, for sure.
Okay.
And maybe at certain levels, or like if there's personal history between two people. For me, like the only story I'm really like focused on is like how far I've come. Like looking back at like my last fight, like the agony of like making that decision, whether like what kind of surgery and when. So for me, like I just focus on my storyline. Like I don't know her personally. When we get in there and the everything that you did prepared you for that moment, and then you're in there and someone's throwing at you and it becomes very real very quickly.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it's hard. Like the only thing I really tend to hear is my corners. You know what I mean? I hear my coaches yelling and stuff. I hear people screaming, but it's very vague, and you just kind of start to rely on everything you've been working on, and it just starts to flow and come out. And like it's an indescribable feeling, and I'm really looking forward to that again. I haven't felt that way in a long time. So. Right,
we are as well. You mentioned like your team. I would love for you to kind of hit more on that. Also, like I said, you're a great follow on Instagram, and I looked you up on IG again, and you have like all these people like ads. Like I would assume a lot of sponsors or a lot of people that help you through fight camps or just through life in general. Just even that, tell us. Mixed martial arts is such a one-on-one sport, right? Like I said, you girls are going to walk into a ring. You versus Griffin, best woman's going to win. But there's so much, even if it's, the New England cartel and all they entail. And, I talked to your manager a couple of times, like how much does a good team, a good support system around you help on a day in, day out or a fight camp basis?
It's honestly huge.
Okay.
Made a tremendous impact in my career and my ability to improve. I kind of work between two gyms very closely. And then, I've got my head coach who's been with me, Philippe Costa, and he's my jiu-jitsu coach. And then I have my MMA coach, Jeff Haddad, and he's an undefeated fighter. And he co-owns Ascension. And then, I've worked with a lot of different people. Like Tyson has greatly helped me as a person, as a fighter. I've learned a lot about MMA as the business side of it, the sport side, like everything. I've gotten New England's so strange because there's many different gyms and a lot of high caliber fighters, but it's still very spread out. So, you know what I mean? Like I've gone to TriStar in Rhode Island. I've gone to Lausanne's. Like You know, I spend a lot of time in Connecticut working with different people, like Nick Nunes right down here. So it's kind of interesting how we all work together. But, you know, just from that and like my strength and conditioning coach, just like people help with the nutrition, people are checking on you, like, how are you feeling? How are you doing? It's an individual sport. Like once it gets in, you know, like you're in the cage, or in this case, the ring, you know, it's just you and your opponent. But leading up to that, it's very much so like all my training partners sparring with me and pushing me, getting through everything. You know, I wouldn't be as successful without all of that. Like I rely very heavily on the team of people who, you know, function to serve me better and to help me grow as a martial artist and as a fighter. And likewise, you know, I'm there for them too. And I don't know, it's huge. It's
very cool. It really
know.
is. I feel
a lot, yeah.
There's like so much in the game, right? Like, and I always say this, you know, weight classes are there for a reason. So usually you guys are around the same weight, the same height, reach. A lot of that's so similar. And it feels like, you know, the mentality of the fight and the team you have behind you, the information you have going into the fight, all that stuff is so vital. And for you, like, I kind of, tell me if I'm off base on this, or with Griffin being a little bit younger than you and never having that feeling of being a professional fighter and just everything you went through with the surgery and the kind of the comeback fight, it almost seems like this fight, like, I don't want to talk for Griffin, and, you know, I'll talk to her soon. Like I said, she's a really great fighter. It feels like this fight means more to you. It's more emotionally charged for this. And I just feel like that could be a huge advantage for you. It's like, I'm not going out. Like, you know, iKON 5, I'm getting the win, hell or high water. And it just seems like you have that emotion.
Yeah, I mean, in all my fights, my mindset honestly is to either kill or like get carried out on a stretcher. Like that is all. Like I don't ever want to leave, you know, the cage wondering if I had done enough or if I had more in the tank, did I not empty it? So like for me, like I worked so hard. So yes, exactly that. But that's like typically always my mentality. For me, like where I want to be, like in the amount of work I do to get prepared and get ready, like between work and between training and, you know, driving, you know, an hour and back and forth training every day here and there. It's just like I work too hard. You know what I mean? To stand in front of someone and think that like they think they're going to take it from me. That's how I think about it. So when it comes to that, it's like I'm fighting for the life I want, like everything I want. So like you're in my way. That's it.
Right. Two last things for you. I really appreciate your time. You know, like I said, we talked last time and then the fight didn't come through. So I cannot wait. March 5th, iKON 5 live on UFC Fight Pass. So two last things. One is, your plans, and, you know, like you said, it's been hard and coming back from the surgery, and it's sometimes hard to get a fight. What's kind of the 2021, if you had a perfect game plan to every 2 months or 3 months, or hey, shit, let me get back right into iKON 6 in April. You know what I mean? What's kind of your outlook? What's the next 6 months or 9 months, hopefully, for Alexandra Ballou?
Yeah. So give or take, you know, depending on how everything goes, I definitely want to turn around, and I want a quick turnaround, you know. I want to fight at least 3 or 4 times this year for sure. And then, you know, by the end of this year, early next year, I really want to look at where I stand and, you know, either the Contender Series or UFC or, you know, that next step. I've been inactive for 2 years. So for me, like, you know, now that everything's up and running again and I have these opportunities, like I'm here to capitalize on them. Right.
Okay, last thing, and now we'll roll on this is I talked to almost everyone on this card, and iKON 5, a lot of momentum behind the organization and just the UFC Fight Pass alone. And this card has the most female fights on it in UFC Fight Pass history, except for like an Invicta FC, which is all female fights. Do you feel, is that good? Do you feel that juice? Do you feel you want to outshine the other females and be like, hey, I'm the star of the show? Or like I said, in a weird, none of that shit matters, and you're worried about just your fight. You're worrying about just Griffin and getting the W and moving on and hopefully unscathed, uninjured, and just hopefully fighting on iKON 6.
I mean, all of the latter for sure, 100%.
Okay.
I don't really know like about everyone else, but I definitely like I want a finish and I want a very dominant performance. Like I want people to look and be like, "Oh my god, what a fight!" You know what I mean? So I don't necessarily know if that's above other people's fights in terms of as a woman or versus men or whatever. But I just want there to be blood. I want people to, be entertained. I want like people to remember my performance or be shocked by it. And, I want to finish this fight by any means necessary. So.
Love it. Love it. Alexandra, it's always great talking to you. We'll be out there in Biloxi. We'll see you that week. Maybe we'll do some stuff that week, but hopefully be safe, have a good weight cut and all of that. And we'll see you in Biloxi. And like you said, in a couple of weeks where it's almost fight time. We're ready.
Yeah, hell yeah. Thanks so much, Dave.
Awesome. Talk to you soon.